Hi everyone and welcome to my place. Here at Astar's place we are very global, and I have had a Gmail request from Sam Alley, who lives in Libya, and wanted me to show her, if I could, if I knew, how to take cuttings from a chrysanthemum. Now, chrysanthemums are really easy to take cuttings from. I actually prefer to take them from outside in the garden, but this is all I could get because it's the wrong time of the season. So thank you to the grower of this. I'm probably going to get myself into an enormous amount of bother by the growers, but you know, not everybody has things like this, and maybe they don't have them in Libya, so here I am to help Sam out. So please don't report me to the growing police because I don't want to get into trouble. I just want to help. But a chrysanthemum, like a hydrangea, is really, really easy to propagate. And I'll just put that out of the road. Let me just go through what we've got. Now, I've got some little tins here that I'm going to grow my cuttings into. I've got some seed raising mix, or you could perhaps use potting mix that you can get from the garden centre. Little word of warning before we go any further here. When you buy your potting soil or your seed raising mix or whatever you're buying that has been processed and fumigated, it actually has really bad things in there, and it usually comes with a warning, and that warning is really for as you say, it is a warning. The little things that are in that little warm environment, or the chemicals that they've used to fumigate it, can actually it's almost like causing, well, just let me start again. You have to be really careful, because I have known people that have become very sick. So if you have a lung condition, you're unwell, you're a young child or you're elderly, do take care and do read the safety instructions. What I do is I open it out, I put a mask on, I open it up outside so that there's lots and lots of fresh air around me, and open the bag right up, and then I leave it for 2 to 3 days just to make sure that anything that's in there that could cause any kind of lung condition or illness is actually dissipated and goes away. Now, I've done a whole list of do's and don'ts and things to be concerned about, and little notes on how to propagate things, and they're in the video description of all the do's and don'ts, just so that you've got it there. But there are really great sites that you can go onto the net and have a look at. But anyway, I've also got some sand here. If you are using dirt from outside, in the garden, I'd sort of think about that. I'd prefer to get something that has been fumigated, and I know that there's no weeds and there's no germs or nasty diseases that may cause any kind of concern. The other thing that you have to be aware of is to make sure that everything that you are doing is clean. And with my secateurs and my cutters and everything, I just use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and I know my surface is clean, and then just give your secateurs or your pruning knife a really good clean, so that there is nothing nasty on the snips or your secateurs or your knife that may cause any kind of might cause the plant to rot or get a disease, or, and you know, God help us, that it doesn't propagate. So just clean is one of the things to be aware of. The other thing I wanted to introduce is you can get several products on the market, and it's a root, what is this called? It's a root stimulating hormone that you can use. The word of warning with this is the littlest little amount goes a very long way. So if you are using it, there's a whole heap of instructions on the back. They're there because they want you to read it to make sure that you're fully up to speed. Now, there's several other varieties too that you can get for softwoods and for hardwoods. I'm using one that's just a generic one for the softwood or the soft stems, which is what the chrysanthemums are. Right, to make up the soil, I've got a big mixing bowl here. Now, the reason I like to use this one here is because it's like a seed raising mix, and I sort of see seeds as little babies, and when I'm doing a cutting I see that as a little baby too. So all the nutrients that the plant will need are in there, so you shouldn't necessarily need to use any of the root forming compound. Now the other thing is it's sort of like a nice sandy soil, but just to make sure that it's a little bit sandier, I like to put in a little bit more sand. It looks like salt, but it's not. And the reason I do this is because everything needs to be free draining, because you don't want your little roots getting too wet. So the more drainage that you can get at this stage, the better it is. Now I'm going to use these little pots here, which look like they're not very clean, but they are. Okay, so it's just a matter of putting the soil into there, and what I'll do is I'll put it into here just to contain everything. Make sure that whatever tins you're using or whatever vessels have got good drainage underneath them, because this is very important, because as I said, we don't want any wet feet. Now you can get seed raising trays and things like that, but when I'm doing things like this, I like them to look as attractive as I can. And when they're in, well, I just like to display everything nicely when I'm doing things, because it's just the way that I am, I suppose. I can't help it. You know, it's just one of those things. I'm not OCDC over being clean, but you know how it is. Clean, neat and tidy and display things beautifully is the best way forward as I see it. Now I don't need to have too much soil into there, and that will probably do. If you want to fill it right to the top, by all means do that. Okay, getting rid of all of this. Now when it comes to taking your cuttings, as I said, I've got a whole heap of notes here on some really good tips on how to do this and things to look out for. But make sure, the other thing I like to do is to make sure that I'm using really good rootstock and that my plant is healthy before I start and it's free of any germs. Okay, what you need to do is to go into here, and I'll snip that down into there. Right. Where I've cut that there, there's that nodey bit there. That's not a very nice place to cut it. At the base, I like to cut it flat like so, and then remove all of the leaves, because what we want is the roots the growth to go into the formation of the roots. So if you get rid of all of this, it means that the growth isn't going to go into the leaves or into any flower. And then I like to slant cut the top, get rid of those leaves there. Sometimes I've seen them where they just like do a wee cut like that, but I don't see the point in that. Just take all of that off there. And the reason I slant cut at the top is because, two reasons. When it rains or it gets wet, the water will rush off there. And I know that that is the top that we slant. And the bottom bit down here is where I want as many roots as I can. So once you've done that, you're all ready to go. So get a whole heap of those. Now, if you're going to use the rooting compound, as I said, a little bit goes a long way. When you're doing lots and lots of these, you can't, and you've taken all the leaves off, sometimes you can get lost in translation, or which was the top and which was the bottom. So I know that that's the top because I've got that wee slant, and as I said, I need a greater distance here for as many roots as I can. It's just a matter of dipping that into there if you need to use it, and you might have to do 2 or 3 trials to make sure. So just dip that into there and then give that a good shake to remove any excess, and then stick that sort of not straight in but sort of on the slant. Now normally what I would do is I would do 2 or 3 into each little bay there. The other thing that you need to do is to make sure that you keep a note of what it is that you're propagating so that you don't get lost. So that you don't forget what it is, and then just a fine missing. Now, as I said, these are like little babies, and they need to be kept nice and warm, and they need to be in a lovely warm, not moist, but a nice warm environment. You can buy these little things here, these little cloches, I just love these. And then that there, I just usually close that up at night, and then in the daytime, so that there's not too much condensation. I'll show you, it's got this little thing here, that little wee thing, see that there? So that opens and closes it. So at night time, to keep it nice and warm outside, keep it closed, and then in the morning, and normally what will happen is you'll see little bits of condensation. To remove as much moisture as you can, just open that and let that extra moisture go away, and there you have easy way of how to propagate a chrysanthemum. I hope, Sam, that is of help to you, and I hope that those of you who aren't sure of how to do it, that I've been of assistance to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you another day.